Welcome to a new year of possibility. What might that possibility look like for you? I've had a lot of thoughts, a lot of possibilities come to mind for me over these last couple of weeks, and I wanted to share a little bit of that process and some of that possibility with you today. Welcome. I'm Peggy Oliveira. Thank you for joining me. So as you probably know, I took the last couple of weeks off. But the reality is that I think as a business owner, as somebody who owns two different businesses that are both based around creation, it's actually really challenging for me anyway to take time off, especially when that time off is at home. And so while I took time off from publishing any content, working with clients, I kind of failed at actually taking time off of work. And when I say failed, I mean I didn't reach the goal that I had intended to achieve. However, I think it's important to recognize, and I'm saying this for you as well, that not reaching a goal that we may set does not mean that we as individuals are failures. We may fail at a particular goal, but it doesn't mean that we fail, because sometimes within that failure to achieve that goal, maybe there's something else that happens. Maybe you get more rest. Maybe you reevaluate something. Maybe you recognize what is important and what maybe isn't that important. Maybe you recognize some area that you might need more support or resources or something like that, so that you can be better equipped to do the thing that you really want to do. So I think that's an important thing to consider. So during this couple of weeks, I really tried to think about, what do I want to feel? Going back to my last video where I shared that instead of thinking about what resolution do you want to create, try thinking about how you want to feel. And so I tried to do that as well. And within that, it was an interesting experience because I have Courageous Journeys, which is my work around healing childhood trauma and sharing content and resources for healing childhood trauma. And then I also have Grounded to Bloom, which is my Etsy shop where I create things that are just kind of like mental health related, like inspirational kinds of sayings and journals and totes and just different kinds of things. And more recently, I've been creating more things for mental health professionals with little sayings and stuff. And I like a lot of witty types of things. So I have two different things that are somewhat related, but both of them are creative in different types of ways. And over this past year, just because of the things that are going on, mostly externally, and I've talked before about that, but it's made it difficult for me to be able to kind of feel the flow of energy that can feel inspiring to create. And doesn't mean that I haven't wanted to. In fact, sometimes I've really wanted to, but have had difficulty with it. And then it can feel really frustrating. And then we can feel like we're failing or that kind of thing, right? So, in thinking about how I wanted to feel, it reminded me that I feel the most myself, the most inspired, the most energized when I am able to connect with this work. That is the reality. I do enjoy creating for Grounded to Bloom, but to be honest, there's a lot of other aspects of trying to build a shop a sustainable shop that I don't love. And so, while I like the creative aspect of it, I don't like some other aspects of it. And so it's a lot of work, and I don't particularly enjoy some of it. But the reality is that this work is something that I enjoy. I enjoy it when I'm creating on my own. I absolutely love being able to connect with you. And one of the things that I recognized is that in that taking care of myself and kind of stepping back a little bit, in creating space to take care of myself, that I'm not feeling the connection. I'm not as engaged, and like literally I'm not engaging as much with you, and I miss that, because that helps me feel inspired. It helps me feel connected. You know, I know that there are a lot of you that watch pretty much all of my videos, and I am so incredibly grateful for that. And I do feel like we are able to connect to a degree, but there's something very different about me speaking into this camera and me being able to be with you in real time and communicating and engaging with you. And I miss that. So as I was thinking about all of this, there were a couple of different things that I ended up kind of thinking about over these last couple of weeks. And I'd like your feedback, actually. So the first one is, I've shared this before, but it's definitely getting much closer to being complete. And I am really excited about it. And I hope you will be too. I hope that if you choose to use it, that it's something that you feel is valuable for you. But that is my Inner Child Healing Workbook. I'm just finishing up a few little formatting kinds of things, and I'm going to read through it another time. But I'm hoping that will come out in the next 6 weeks or so, and hopefully be available for pre-order before that. But here is a cover. I don't know which side it's going to be on, but I will share the cover image. And I am really looking forward to it. And there's a couple of reasons why that I'll share in a moment. So first things first, I'd love your feedback on the cover. It's not finalized yet, but this is kind of where I'm going. And the title is Healing Your Inner Child, a guided workbook for healing the wounds of childhood trauma. Now, I'd like your feedback because I've kind of gone back and forth. So Healing Your Inner Child, a guided workbook for healing the wounds of childhood trauma, or Healing Your Inner Child, a guided workbook for healing the lasting impact of childhood trauma. Which one do you feel more of a connection to? Which one resonates? Which one kind of draws you in a little bit more? Or maybe which one does one of them kind of make you resist a little bit? Do you notice some tightening? Because I know wounds, first of all, can be difficult for people sometimes. Childhood trauma can be difficult for people sometimes, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to leave that in there. But I would love your feedback on the cover design, on the title, whatever you got feedback about. I would be very happy to hear. And in this workbook, it is just about being able to go through some practices to help you reconnect with that inner child and do some things that can be helpful for helping heal the inner child. And we all have an inner child within us, in part because, as you've heard me say many times, we're all wounded. We are all wounded. on that spectrum of wounding, we could be on the less extreme end where it was maybe something fairly minor, or we might be on this extreme end. But we have all been wounded in childhood. You can't escape that. Now, the impact that it has on you overall, there's a lot of factors that go into that. But we all have an inner child, and we are all wounded. And if you're watching this video, especially at this point in the video, there's a really strong likelihood that you've experienced childhood trauma and continue to have some struggle around the lasting impact of it. And so I wanted to create this as a tool, as an experience, as a practice for you to be able to kind of come back to explore, to integrate, to help you heal. Now, this book is not going to heal you. It is meant as a tool. It is meant as a practice, as part of your overall healing journey. So I do want that to be clear. It's a workbook. And in thinking about that, kind of separately, so I've been working on that. That's been kind of the majority of what has taken up my time. I have done some work for Grounded to Bloom as well. But also I've been thinking about, okay, if I know that re-engaging is something that will likely help me feel good going into this year and throughout this year, what are some things that I can do? And one of the things that I thought about is kind of having a theme for each month of the year. And I don't have it completely like a solid idea of what that's going to look like in terms of the themes, but having a theme for each month around not just healing, although everything that we do when done with intention can be part of our healing, but just kind of different themes and ideas, struggles maybe, or different ways that we're impacted that we talk about. And maybe I would do a video about it, share some things in the newsletter about it, because that's something else I'm hoping to start doing a little bit more because it helps me stay engaged. And also potentially, so this is where I'd like some feedback as well, maybe doing like a live call every month, and it probably would be something that would be paid, but probably would not be very much, where we would come together on Zoom for a healing experience where I would kind of lead you through a little bit of a healing experience, like with some grounding, and we would talk a little bit about that topic, and there would be room for Q&A, and maybe even some Reiki. So that was kind of one of the ideas. And some of the topics that I thought about are like talking about kind of loyalty to yourself and self-trust. Talking about our nervous system and how, like, different aspects of being able to heal so that our nervous system can allow us to do the things that we want to do, both in terms of healing, but also in terms of creating the life that we want. Receiving, allowing the good. I know that's something that so many of us struggle with, including myself, going back to my husband supporting me and praising me and allowing myself to take that in. Of course, talking about like detoxing shame, releasing shame, talking about attachment and connection, and not just in terms of attachment issues, so to speak, though that will likely be part of it, but also in terms of allowing ourselves to experience healthy attachment, because we don't necessarily really talk a whole lot about that. So those are some of the ideas that I had. So if you've got any feedback about that, if that's something you think that you might like to participate in, any aspect of it, in terms of the emails, if you haven't signed up to my newsletter yet, you can do that. There's a link below. But receiving information in that regard, as well as potentially joining a live healing experience and conversation around that month's topic. So let me know. And then as I was thinking about that, and I was really kind of coming into the more final parts of the workbook, I thought, oh, maybe I could do a healing group using the workbook. And I haven't given that a whole lot of thought in terms of like fleshing that out and what that would look like. But it really felt appealing to me. And I did that with, I'm pretty sure I did that with Deeply Rooted. I know I ran like a workshop with Deeply Rooted a couple different times. And maybe I just talked about doing it for Deeply Rooted. I'm not sure, but I was thinking about doing a group, and maybe it would be like 4 or 6 weeks or something like that, maybe even longer. I don't know. I need to see how long the book ends up being and what would seem to make sense. But so that would be another option, maybe in conjunction with the monthly thing, because I know not everybody would want to read the book, do the book, or join a group for it. So that was another thing that I considered that I think could be really beneficial. Hopefully for you, but also for me. So let me know your thoughts about all of those things, whatever comes up for you. Please feel free to share. And whatever you have thought about for yourself in terms of how you want to feel this year, I would like to encourage you to think about possibility, and not just in terms of how you feel, but what does that look like for you in your life? You don't have to feel like it's something that you know how you're going to achieve it. You don't have to have a plan for it. Just allowing yourself to imagine possibility, and go wild if you want to, but it doesn't have to be that. It can be something that is more realistically attainable, something that is related to your healing, something that it might be related to a relationship, growing closer or improving. It might be trying something new, whatever that might be. Just allowing yourself to consider the possibility. What helps you feel inspired? What helps you feel peaceful? What helps you feel connected? What makes you smile? All of those things are so important. And it doesn't have to be life-changing. It doesn't have to be something that gives to somebody else. In fact, I would encourage you to first consider all of this for you. And if it happens to be something that is related to other people, that's fine. But make sure that you're thinking about that from what does it bring to you? And not because, and this is really important, not because the only time that you feel valued is because of what you give to others. It's important to recognize your inherent value, regardless of what you might give to others. So I'd love to hear from you and all your feedback, but also just kind of checking in. Let's connect as we settle into this new year, or probably not quite settling in yet, but just kind of embarking on this new year ahead, whatever that might look like for you. Thanks so much for being here. I will look forward to continuing to engage with you in 2026, and hopefully in more ways and more consistent ways. Thank you for being here. I'll look forward to seeing you next time.